So I think I should refresh it. I created one schema actually. Test BW, BODS and bitnet. Yeah. I just created one schema and then I just took some simple table and I just put some 4 records into the table already. Year, amount, currency. Simple. I just took simple table and in this year is a primary key in this table. Atla table, HANAlo table undi 4 records ఉన్నాయి. Assume ఇది HANA కాకుండా వేరే ఏదో సిస్టమ్ అయినా అనుకో అంతే. ఓకే బస్. So I need to extract data from this database to BW by leveraging some ETL tool in between and connect those ETL tool to my BW with BAPI connection. That's the concept. Okay, boss, fine. So BODS is actually an ETL tool, boss, which can extract data from any place to any place. Data, it does not store any data physically. It takes data and then transfers it to the source. Target అంతే. సోర్స్ డేటా తీసుకుంటే టార్గెట్కి ఇచ్చేస్తుంది కానీ దీని మాత్రం మొదలు ఏం పెట్టుకోదు. అండ్ ఇట్స్ వెరీ స్ట్రాంగ్ టూల్ ఫర్ ఈటీఎల్ ఫర్ ఆల్ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ ట్రాన్స్ఫర్మేషన్స్. ఈటీఎల్ ఎక్స్ట్రాక్షన్ transforms it and sends it back. Does not hold any data into it. So I'm going to use that middleware ETL tool which will connect to my source and that will be linking to my BW with BAPI connection. That's the concept. Okay. ఎందుకంటే the Excel system I'm not able to connect to my BW directly because of some resource constraint or adapters are not available. I'm using this BODS. Scenario, base scenario okay. Steps ఏం పెద్ద కథ ఏమి ఉండదు. ఓకే. సో this is BODS actually. Okay. I'm just closing in. So I'm trying to log into BODS. I need to establish a connections between BW and BODS, right? So BODS lo you can go in programs. This is the one latest version of data services. SAP data services 4.2. And in this majorly we start working with manaki RS7 net lo. RS7 is a main T code where we do all the kind of modeling, right? And BODS, they use this tool. There are a lot of tools like in this, but they use this data service designer is a main tool for them for all the kind of modeling those data flows. Man API gurtunda source to target to that is what they do in BODS. By using this tool called data service designer, they design the data flows. What is my source object? What is my target object? In between this, what transformations should I do? They build a flow like that actually. So I'm connecting to this with some. And whenever you log into these tools, it will ask you to specify the repository. Repository. What is repository, boss? The server. Let's say my application database is my repository, right? I said it is an ETL tool. Normally BW will have its own database and within the database it will store all the system tables and store all the metadata in it. This is like a plain tool, ETL tool. This does not, when you install BODS, you don't install any database actually. It's a plain tool, you just work on a tool, like Excel database. It's like a tool, okay? But once they install this tool, if they have to work on it, they say definitely there should be some database where all the metadata repository of this BODS is stored. Let's say you create one connection to BW. The connection details should be stored into some table because once I log out, if I log in, if I need to see again, it should read that from some table and then source it. And the system in all the details of the BODS must be maintained in some backend database, which will refer as repository. So once they install BODS, they will use some database. They'll create a repository in the database. It could be any database they can use. Then they create and then they give you one repository name and which we have to work on it. So when I log into this repository might be pointing out to a database, to a schema, to a database in SQL Server or HANA or whatever it is. And when I log into this repository, when I do all the settings, all the metadata information will be stored into the standard system tables which are maintained in the repository of this database. ఈ HANA అనే ఒక repository name, దాంట్లో డీటెయిల్స్ ఉంటాయన్నట్టు. ఈ BODSలోనే you'll have some, what is data service repository manager ఉంటుంది. This is where they basically create their own repository అన్నట్టు. ఇప్పుడు నాకు repository కావాలి, సెంట్రల్ రిపాజిటరీ, అది ఏ డేటాబేస్లో కూర్చోవాలి అని నువ్వు క్రియేట్ చేస్తావు ఇక్కడ. And then what happens, all the system tables of BODS will go and sit into the database. Appudu that is this repository is formed. HANA ante HANA database kaadu, that is only repository name which is representing the system tables of BODS in HANA system. That's the point. Okay. So they just give me, your basis would give you what to be used, and I am just using it. And I am just logging in this. In the BOD data services. So before I start working on to BODS, should I have a connections between BW and BODS first? If you are basically connecting ECC and BW, you connect through RFCs. You create RFC in ECC to log into BW, you create RFC in BW to remote log into ECC, and through those RFCs you connect. You could put something like that we use now. Look at this. This is the designer tool. Okay. From here I can log into another tool called what is it? Data Services Management Console. That is a screen where you can do the entire administration for BODS, creating new users, scheduling background jobs, anni chestam. When I go to that, దీంట్లో I want to get into what? Administration. When you get into this administration, you have something, what is here? SAP connection. And any SAP system you want to connect from BODS, I need to create an RFC interface here. Go to RFC server interfaces. And what is RFC server interface configuration? And you say what? Add. And you just give some program. This is important. You should remember the program ID what you are maintaining it here. Okay? Chudu. Edo gurtu pettuko baga. PG 00. Peddadi isse case sensitive. It must be case sensitive. That's my PG 001. I am creating an RFC configuration through which I can log into my BW system. So some name, any unique name you can give it. I am giving it as PG001. And what is the username which I use to log into what? BW system. I know I have one user ID as HANA. The username called HANA. Okay. Then the password is HANA123. And it is asking what is this? What server name? BW server name. What is my BW server name? So this is a BW server. I'm going to connect first. I'm giving the BW server connected, then server name is from the login pad. That's my server name. What is the client in BW I'm logging in? 001. And what is system number? I want to see. 2020. System number is 20. Again, host is nothing but the same your BW 74 SAP, or you can give the complete name also. మన HANA నా BW server ఉండేది ఇక్కడే. You can just give the complete computer name also. 74 HANA dot what is .sap.com కూడా ఇచ్చేయచ్చు. ఎట్లా ఇచ్చినా ఓకే. .sap.com. Okay, boss. And it asks you gateway host. SAP GW is fixed. Okay. And last 00 should change as system number. What is system number? 20. That is GW. SAP GW XX. System number marchal. You can also give 33 and the system number. 332. If system number is 20, I can give it as gateway as 3320 or SAP GW 20. Okay. And then say apply. Apply it. If it is applied, now you could do again RFC connections. This is the place where you create new ones. Add ani. Ikkada already 9 untai ikkada. Suppose connection neat ga set ayindani. If it is able to, if my program ID what I create is able to ping my BW, then you will have this set as what? Started. If you want, you can stop the service also. ఇప్పుడు సెలెక్ట్ చేసి దెన్ వాట్ ఇది షట్ డౌన్ అంటే ఆ కనెక్షన్ ఆగిపోద్ది అంట. Say stopped. So there's no more linking. Again, I want to establish a link again. What is it? Select this and say start. So I'm basically starting the RFC interface connection through which, with this there is a program ID defined in BODS through which I'm able to link my BW. I'm able to ping my BW now. Okay, boss. Now I'll go to BW. And now I need to use that details here. Okay. Select this Excel system, right click, say what? Create. So this is Excel system with BAPI, okay? BAPI connections. Z CON BODS. Just when you say OK, I've just give source system name and say OK. It is automatically coming to RFC screen, and it is creating an RFC connection T of type tier TCP/IP connection. When you want to integrate BODS from BW, you want to connect to BW, we use TCP/IP connection. That's SAP BW connecting normal ABAP connection 3. But when you want to create an RFC connection from BW, you want to integrate link up BODS, we use TCP/IP connection where the connection type is T. Automatically it creates that. Now it is asking me something. What is this here? What program ID? The program ID what we defined in the BODB station. What was it? Case sensitive bus PG001. Then go down. It will ask me what is my server name. Dot SAP dot com. What is the gateway service in the SAP GW font. It's in save. Connection test. If my RFC is working, if the program ID that defined what I've defined in the RFC is working fine, then it's able to ping perfectly. Done out. Okay. That's save back. You create type in. Okay, it's actually in old version we had BAPI connection, but what they've done in the new 7.3 they've given new source to connection type is data service. BODS is also SAP, right? So they've given a dedicated folder for data service. Suppose if I do same thing for Informatica, you would get to see this in actually BODS is also BAPI connection only, but దానికి మాత్రం separate folder ఇచ్చాడు అంతే. Whatever you establish, that's a BAPI connection. Same thing, ఇదే Informatica కూడా ఇట్లే చేస్తాం. You create an RFC connect details there, you come and give the same program ID and then get the TCP/IP connection. Same itle. What in that is from 7.3, instead of having Excel, apart from Excel system with BAPI connection, they can one more segregation of source system as BODS, because BODS is also a SAP product. Then separate go folder. Okay, boss? So I have the connection ready, boss. Now with this, I am able to link up BODS and BWS. Okay, boss? So HANA will be linked to BODS and BODS is linked to BW. That's the concept. Okay, no, boss? Fine. ఇప్పుడు నేనేం చేస్తానంటే ఈ టెస్ట్ అనే టేబుల్ వద్దు. ఐ వాంట్ యూజ్ న్యూ టేబుల్. So నాకు టెస్ట్ కదా, ఐఎమ్ గోయింగ్ టు యూజ్ అనదర్ టేబుల్ కూడా టెస్ట్ 2. Okay, so I've got the data. So now I'll go to BODS. I've got a connection now, BODS to BW. Now what I need to do, I mean what? Yes, data services designer, where I can design the data flow. Now I need to do what? I need to go to this model complete scenario. So now I need to establish a connection to HANA, and my BODS should have two connections. One is to HANA and one is to what? BW. Then take the source object, take the target object, then do mapping. That's it. Okay, boss? So before I do this, now is my source in the source system HANA? Do we have the table ready, boss? Yes. And I need to extract data from this table of HANA and load into what? Into BW. Into BW what? Into data sources. Another one PS I want to bring. So shall I create my data source also and keep it ready? So both will be ready. So select your connection, right click, say what? Display data source tree, and let me create my data source. ZDS test is my, and I'm going with what? Any data source. But this is with BAPI connection, Anna. Same BODS with BAPI undu mechanism unda. I'll come to that. What it says? Load by RFC through third party system. That is what? Nothing but a BAPI connection. And fields, whatever you want, you can specify. Now I want a source, but is I'm giving. One is I'm using what? 0 cal here. And my data source is ready. So now we understand data source nothing but what? PSA table. So I have got a table in HANA. I have got table in BW. Which table? PSA table. From the database table of HANA, I need to extract through BODS and load into what? PSA table of BW. Once it comes to PSA, from there can you run DDP and then load it to your target? Yes. That's okay. So now I'm in what? Data services designer, where I need to get the source table, target table from source table from HANA, target table from BODS, BW, link both with the BODS. Okay, boss? So here we start, in BW you start doing all developments like info area, all those, right? Same way here they start doing something called what? Create project. They create something what? Project. They say create project. It's nothing. This is like normal info area wise. There's no technical importance. Then they create something called job. What is it? New batch job. Say my job name is my first job. I'm just giving my job name as this. Okay, they'll have a job. Now within the job they'll have something called what is data flow. Okay. Now go inside the flow. You understand? Flow as like APD. Inside this flow, you should say source, target, and map. So you'll have project, job, and then you'll have what? Data flow. Inside the data flow, you're going to specify the source object, target object, and then the mapping between. Okay, good. What is your source object? HANA database. HANA database lo oka table undi. That is source object kada. So if I need to get those table from HANA, do I need to have a connection from BODS to HANA bus? Mana BW mana source system connection antamu. Here they call it data store antam. Mana DS one data store antam, but here they refer the source connection as data store antam. So I need to create one data store which can connect to what? HANA database. I will have different links ikkada. Chana vere files anta adante chala tabs untai. Okay, now I will have to get into what is data stores in a tab kelli. Okay, right click. Say what? New Cubex DS HANA means it's a Cubex data store for HANA database. Now you want this data store to create with what type? You connected to database or application? Which one it is? Database. What database is it? HANA, SQL. What database is it? SAP HANA. Okay. HANA lo which version of HANA database is it? HANA 1.x and HANA 1.x inga vere bolenga. Okay. Next, database server name. What is my server name of my HANA database? Now HANA na server ikkada cursor petti cheptundi chudu. SAP VAS. Okay. Adi na data. Sorry. So I'll go in. My server name is SAP VAS. Na server name. Next name port kada. Port etla decide chestunte ikkada instance number untundi. What is instance? HDB is a system ID, SAP VAS is my server, then you get 00. 00 is my instance number. Okay, and 3 instance number 15 is your port. Another index server ఉంటుంది. Index server port అదనట్టు 3, the 2-digit instance number and 15 will be the port number. So if నీకు instance number ఏంది 00, so port ఏంది ఉండాలా 30015. Okay, good. User name HANA no user ఉన్నాడు. 1 2 ఓకే బస్ అప్లై అంటే ఇంకా అయిపోయాను. ఎర్ర ఉంటే అప్పుడే చెప్తుంది, అప్లై కొడితే ఎర్ర వస్తుంది, లేదంటే ఇంకా అయిపోయాను. క్యూబెక్స్ డిఎస్ HANA, దట్ ఈస్ యూ షుడ్ అండర్స్టాండ్ లైక్ సోర్స్ కనెక్షన్ టు HANA బస్ విచ్ దెర్ఫోర్ ఇట్ యాజ్ డేటా స్టోర్ అంటారు. నాకు ఇంకోటి కావాలి, ఐ నీడ్ వన్ మోర్ డేటా స్టోర్ ఫర్ వాట్ BW connection, BW source system, right click, again right click, say what, new cubex underscore BW. Now are we referring BW as a target or source? No, you should decide here itself. So BW కోటే స్పెషల్గా ఉందన్నట్టు ఇక్కడ BW సోర్స్గా వాడాలనుకున్నావా టార్గెట్గా వాడాలని దాన్ని బట్టి ఆబ్జెక్ట్స్ వేరే మారిపోతాయంట. సో ఆర్ యూ కనెక్టెడ్ టు డేటాబేస్ ఆర్ SAP వాట్ యూ వాంట్ కనెక్ట్ టు BW as source or target? Source అనేసరికి ఇట్ విల్ గివ్ యూ ఆల్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్స్ లైక్ ఓపెన్ అప్ అన్ని, టార్గెట్ అనేసరికి ఇట్ విల్ గివ్ యూ డేటా సోర్సెస్ అన్నట్టు. సో ఐల్ సే BW టార్గెట్. వాట్ ఈస్ మై సర్వర్ నేమ్ అంటే ఏంటి? BW సర్వర్ నేమ్ BW74 .sap.hana సారీ HANA అంట .com. ఫుల్ పేరు నేమ్ ఇచ్చిన సగం ఇచ్చిన ఓకే, ఇబ్బంది ఉంది. అండ్ ఫర్ ది లాగిన్ ఫర్ దట్ ఈస్ HANA. Okay, then click advanced. Now specify the client. In my BW my active client is what 001, and what is system number for my BW? It's 20, and then supply. Either error tipre dot kotal ledante okay em ledhu ayipindi right. So I have established connections to one is HANA, one is to BW. Now I need to by using those connections I need to start bringing those source objects. Source object target ante metadata ante my HANA has got a table. I need to read the metadata of the table from HANA database to BODS. Data రాదన్నా HANAలో ఏదైతే టేబుల్ ఉందో ఆ టేబుల్ రెప్లికేట్ అంట, మన బిడల్ రెప్లికేట్ డేటా సోర్స్ అంటాం, సంథింగ్ లైక్ దట్. ఇంపోర్ట్ అంటాం ఇక్కడ. ఇంపోర్ట్ అంటే ద టేబుల్ డెఫినేషన్ ఈజ్ ఇంపోర్టెడ్ ఫ్రమ్ HANA database to BODS. ఓన్లీ డెఫినేషన్, నాట్ ద డేటా. ఎట్లా చేస్తాం చూడు, ఇది క్యూబెక్స్ డిఎస్ అన్న ఎక్స్పాండ్ అడుగుతుంది. when expand the HANA అడుగుతుంది. HANAలో నుంచి నీకు ఏం కావాలి, ఫంక్షన్స్ కావాలన్నా, టేబుల్స్ కావాలన్నా, టెంప్లెట్ టేబుల్ కావాలన్నా. నాకేం కావాలి, టేబుల్స్. ఇక టేబుల్ రైట్ క్లిక్ కొట్టి ఇంపోర్ట్ బై అన్ని అంటే చాలా ఉంటాయి టేబుల్స్. ఇంపోర్ట్ బై నేమ్, నీ టేబుల్ పేరు ఏం చెప్పు. టెస్ట్ ఈజ్ మై టేబుల్ నేమ్. ఓనర్ అంటే స్కీమా, ఏ స్కీమాలో ఉంది అది BW BODS అనే స్కీమ్. నా టేబుల్ ఓనర్ అన్నప్పుడు స్కీమా BW BODS ఈజ్ మై స్కీమా. ఆ స్కీమాలో టెస్ట్ అనే టేబుల్లో ఉందా, దట్స్ వాట్ ఐ మీన్ టు సే. అండ్ సో వాట్ ఇంపోర్ట్ అయిపోతుంది. ఇఫ్ ఎక్స్పాండ్ ద టేబుల్స్ ఫోల్డర్ యూ షుడ్ సీ దట్. సో డూ యూ సీ దిస్ టేబుల్? సో దిస్ టేబుల్ ఈస్ గోయింగ్ టు బి ఫార్మాటెడ్ యాజ్ సోర్స్. నెక్స్ట్, same way should I bring the data source information into BODS? You create data source in what? BW, which was a PSC table. I should replicate that information also into this because that is going to be act as target. Same again, what I'll use which connection now? Cubex BW target. It will ask you whether the data source is a master data source or transaction data source. You can double click it. So it will open up everything. Expand transaction data source. It will show you all the transaction data sources. మన డేటా సోర్స్ పేరు ఏం పేరు అన్న ZDS test 2 అనేది పెట్టిన, అవునా? ఇదేనా ZDS _ test 2. అన్ని డేటా సోర్స్ చూపిస్తుందండి మొత్తం సిస్టమ్. ఐ ఓపెన్ ద ఎంటైర్ సిస్టమ్, ఐఎమ్ సీయింగ్ ఎవ్రీథింగ్. ఎక్స్పాండ్ దిస్ డేటా సోర్స్ అండ్ రైట్ క్లిక్ ఆన్ దిస్ అండ్ సే వాట్ ఇంపోర్ట్. అంటే ఏమవుతుంది, replication అంటారు. BW what you use the word replicate, here I am using word import. So I have replicated data source definition into BODS, I have replicated table definition into BOD. నాకు రెండు వచ్చినాయి. ఇప్పుడు రెండింటి మధ్యలో మ్యాప్ చేయాలి అంతే. సో క్లోజ్ దిస్ అవుట్. అయిపోయింది. ఇప్పుడు చూడండి, ఇప్పుడు HANA కనెక్షన్ ఎక్స్పాండ్ చేసి I have the target table, source table. If I expand BW connection, transaction data source, I have the data source replicated. Now I have the source table, I have data source, I need to link both these two. You're in what now? You're seeing what? You close everything if you want. Now double click on your data flow. Now you're seeing definition of data flow. Data flow lopala, you'll have project, you'll have a job, under the job you have what? Data flow. Within data flow you got to have all this here. So drag your table of an source or target. So నీకు APD ఉన్నట్టుందన్న, is it like more or less APD అంతే. Then what? Data source. Drag. So source table, data source రెండు కనెక్ట్ చేయడమే. అంటే ఊరు సింపుల్ కనెక్ట్ చేయకుండా నేను I use some, and BODS is really strong in it has got variety of transformations. దాంట్లో క్వెరీ ట్రాన్స్ఫార్మ్ అని ఒకటి ఉందనుకోండి. క్వెరీ ట్రాన్స్ఫార్మ్ అదేం చేయదు. యూ కెన్ రైట్ సమ్ సింపుల్ ఫంక్షన్స్ అండ్ ఆల్, ప్రైమరీకి అట్లా సెట్ చేయొచ్చు అన్నమాట. సో ఐమ్ కనెక్టింగ్ ద సోర్స్ టేబుల్ టు వాట్? క్వెరీ, అండ్ క్వెరీ టు దిస్, అండ్ డబుల్ క్లిక్ ఆన్ ద క్వెరీలో మ్యాపింగ్ తెలుస్తుంది మొత్తం. సో దీస్ ఆర్ ద ఫీల్డ్స్ ఆఫ్ మై టేబుల్ అండ్ దీస్ ఆర్ ఇన్ఫాబెక్స్ ఇన్ మై BW డేటా సోర్స్, రైట్? ఇప్పుడు నేను చెప్పాలి మ్యాపింగ్ ZDR టు క్యాలియర్ లాగా, Z amount to what? Amount. The current to currency. Map this. For that mapping, I've used that query transform. Okay. And then you can close this out. Then you can just validate if it's all fine. Yeah, it's all fine. Fine. Now, once this is set up now, two ways I can pump in the database. Do I have the job here? If right click, I'll say execute job. I can run the job from here. If I run the job here, it automatically creates a dummy info package in BW and puts data to PSA. And your responsibility will be only to run the DTP bus. అట్లా ఒకసారి చేయొచ్చు. ఓకేనా? చేసిన అట్లా ఒకసారి చేస్తాను. మనకేమవుతుందంటే, ఇఫ్ ఐ డూ దిస్, విల్ ఐ ఫైండ్ అ రిక్వెస్ట్ ఇన్ ద PSA మేనేజ్? ఇప్పుడు బస్ యాజ్ ఆఫ్ నో నీ డేటా సోర్స్కి ఏమైనా ఉందా? ఏముందన్న? ఏం రిక్వెస్ట్ లేదు. ఇంకోటి ఏం రిక్వెస్ట్ లేదు. ప్లస్ నువ్వేమైనా ఇన్ఫోబేస్ క్రియేట్ చేసినావా? చేయలే. సో ఐ విల్ డూ బోత్ ద వేస్. యూ కెన్ ఎదర్ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ జాబ్ ఫ్రమ్ BODS ఆర్ ఇన్ఫో ప్యాకేజ్ ఇన్ BOW, ఏదైనా చేయొచ్చు. ఫస్ట్ ఐమ్ డూయింగ్ దిస్. ఎగ్జిక్యూట్. సో ఓకే. ఇప్పుడు నౌ జాబ్ ఈజ్ రన్నింగ్, విచ్ విల్ ఎక్స్ట్రాక్ట్ డేటా ఫ్రమ్ ద టేబుల్ ఫ్రమ్ HANA అండ్ పుట్స్ ఇన్ టు PSA table, nothing but data source in BW. So it says job is completed successfully. If it is completed successfully, what should happen? If I go to BW, right click on the data source and say what? Manage. You see a request 55. I never did it trigger info package? No. Job కొడితే it has pushing, pushing రెండు ఉంటాయి. 4 రికార్డ్స్ వచ్చినాయి బస్. దట్ ఈస్ వన్ వే ఆఫ్ డూయింగ్ ఇట్. ఇట్లా చేయడం వల్ల ఏమైంటుందంటే బ్యాక్ ఎండ్లో రిఫ్రెష్ కొట్టు చూడు, దీనికి ఆటోమేటిక్ ఒక DI జనరేటెడ్ ఇన్ఫో ప్యాకేజ్ అని వచ్చి ఉంటుంది. BODS విల్ జనరేట్ వన్ ఇన్ఫో ప్యాకేజ్ లైక్ దట్. దిస్ వన్ వే ఆఫ్ డూయింగ్ ఇట్. నాకు అట్లా వద్దు, ఐ డోంట్ నీడ్ దట్. ఐఎమ్ జస్ట్ డిలీటింగ్ దిస్ రిక్వెస్ట్. ఓకే. సో ఐ కెన్ ఆల్సో ఎక్స్ట్రాక్ట్ డేటా బై ట్రిగరింగ్ ఇన్ఫో ప్యాకేజ్ ఫ్రమ్ BW also. I'm going to create my info package. So when you use this third-party application with BAPI connection, you get this. Extraction is what? Extract this what? Third-party BAPI. Third-party selections I need to give all, means I need to give this, saying just refresh it. It will start asking you everything. And when I trigger info package, it has to run that job. దానికి అన్నీ ఇవ్వాలి. ఏ రిపాజిటరీలో, ఏ కనెక్షన్స్లో, ఏ దాంట్లో, ఏ జాబ్ సర్వర్ అన్నీ ఇవ్వాలన్నట్టు. సో ఐ నీడ్ సే సెలెక్ట్ ద రిపాజిటరీ యాజ్ వాట్? HANA రిపాజిటరీ. జాబ్ సర్వర్ యాజ్, మనకు జాబ్ సర్వర్ ఉంటుంది అంత డెప్త్ మనకు జాబ్ సర్వర్. అండ్ వాట్ ఇస్ నెక్స్ట్? వాట్ ఈస్ మై జాబ్? మై ఫస్ట్ జాబ్ కదా, మై ఫస్ట్ జాబ్. దట్స్ జస్ట్ ఎ చెక్ ఇఫ్ ఇట్ సేస్ ఎవ్రీథింగ్ ఓకే. And ultimately I'm running, I can directly run my job, or if I'm triggering info page, indirectly it is triggering my job itself in BODS. Processing only PSA, update, schedule, and say what? Start.
You can be selective about the records too in this info package, right?
You should enable that in the data source manager. You should enable selection checkbox like flat file. You'll get that fields. So 4 records are loaded, and then if you got loaded to the target, then what? DTP load. This is how you extract data from through BAPI connections like this. Okay, Nabas? That was BAPI mechanism to integrate through BODS. And what is okay then? There's another case too where actually if you're using this BAPI generally when you're using in previously prior to 7.3, when we wanted to extract data using some third-party detail tools like Informatica, BODS, they were all connected to BW with BAPI connection, where BW never had information about the source database. It was only dealing with BODS only, or Informatica. I was only trying to run, getting what I'm saying? In this example, did BW know what was there in HANA? What is my job in BODS? Information. That is what BAPI connection. Now they've given some more flexibilities for BODS, where by leveraging BODS, you will connect to the data store of HANA database. See, in BODS, you have a data store Cubex DS HANA. Yes or no? Now I'll create a connection to BODS and BW. From that connection, I'll try to consume the table of this HANA database connection directly, and automatic proposal of the fields also can be done. If you see, you'll understand a little bit. Okay. So the first mechanism was what BAPI connection I showed you. Next is BW is a target, okay, but I'm going to connect the data services. I'm going to use my BODS and connect my database itself to BW. Instead of using DB connect, I'm going to leverage BODS and connect the database. So BW will be reading the tables directly, and I'll create data source on the table directly. See that. I'm going to use the same program ID and all those stuff, but this time it will be slightly different way of creating connections, and only for BODS we have that flexibility. So if it is Informatica, any ETL tool means you will be connecting like this with BAPI. How I just connected? I just say create connection, you will be going it. But if it is BODS, you can still go with BAPI connection. And another flexibility what they've given is through BODS you can straight away you can build data source on the table of the source target database of BODS. Confusion? Normal ETL for Informatica, BODS, all this they can be connected with BAPI. Only for BODS, since BODS is an SAP product, SAP has given a leverage where you connect source database to BW through BODS, but you can create data source by consuming the table of the source database instead of referring to through BODS.
It's just acting like a connection.
Like a connection, that's it. It only forwards the connection of the source database, and you consume the source database table directly. And that is given only for BODS only. So if you want to extract data through BODS, two flexibilities. One is with BAPI connection, as it is because it is an ETL tool. Any ETL tool you can go with BAPI. So BODS is also ETL tool. I can extract data BODS through BAPI connection. Since BODS is a new product with SAP, from BW 7.3, they again one more flexibility where you can refer to the source database which is connected through BODS directly. That's the point. I will work try this. I'll try if it works, otherwise. So that is this flexibility is only for BODS, not for other ETL tools. Other ETL tools have to connect with BAPI. BODS can connect with BAPI as well as special connection of BODS where you can leverage the databases directly in BW. Okay, again I'm creating here. But I'm creating BAPI connection or data services bus. Explicitly I'm saying data services. So only for BODS you have this flexibility. I will say BODS HANA. Through I'm going to use BODS as an interface, but I directly consume HANA bus. Yeah. Source system for indirect HANA through BO. అర్థమైందండి ఇప్పటికన్నా అర్థమైంది ఇంగ్లీష్తో కొద్దిగా అర్థం కాదు రైట్. What is my program head? Again, I'm going to use same program head to integrate BODS. The normal, okay. Now it asks me, straight it asks me, which repository in BODS should I use? HANA. Then which job server should I use? HANA. HANA got a job server already. Now what is the background user I must leverage? I'm saying Vasudanand. ఇక్కడ సోర్స్ డేటా స్టోర్ ఏంటి ఇవన్నీ క్యూబెక్స్ డిఎస్ అన్న చూడు బాస్ క్యూబెక్స్ డిఎస్ అన్న వాట్ ఈస్ ఇట్ అ డేటా స్టోర్ సోర్స్ టు కనెక్షన్ ఇన్ BODS? I'm saying so I want this source system of BODS referring to that connection. So now ఇప్పుడు అర్థమైంది, ఇప్పుడు సినారీ అర్థమైంది. Now let's say I have SQL server, POS data, HANA. I've got 5 different sources. All the 5 different sources are connected to BODS with data store connections. Now I'll go to BW. I'll create a data service connection referring to data store 1, which is connected to system 1. I'll get one more BODS data source server, BODS server connection connecting to data source 2, which is source 2. After 5 create, just say, is it indirectly I'm having my BW connection to those 5 systems or not? I'm connected to those, leveraging BODS as a middleware. Ante. Clear this, boss? Say okay. So now the data source is not based on the BAP, Data source is based on the database directly. Which database? The source database connected to BODS. Now successful created. Where is it? BODS. Now right click on this and say what? Display data source. This difference now. Say what is this? Create data source. ZDB HANA. ZDB HANA BODS. అర్థమైందండి, పేర్లు అర్థం కావాలండి. ట్రాన్సాక్షన్ డేటా ఇక్కడ ఆల్మోస్ట్ సేమ్గా ఉంది, ఇక్కడ మొదటి డిఫరెన్స్ ఉంది చూడు. ఇందులో RFC through third party system. It was treating that as a third normal. Actually, when you want to connect third party to like informant, we use BAP connection. I was using BODS itself as third party connection, or I can leverage my BODS as a data to connect to database directly. Now I'll say search. ఇది కొద్ది ప్రాబ్లంగా వస్తుంది, I don't know why. Actually when I expand ఆ టేబుల్స్ అన్ని చూపించాలన్న యాక్చువల్గా. ఇక్కడ నాకు ఎర్రర్ కొడుతుంది యాక్చువల్గా. Here it's where it's reading data for longer time. Actually, in root node it has shown me what? All the tables of HANA. I should select some table and say generate transfer structure. Based on the tables, it should, based on the columns in the table, it should generate transfer structure also automatically. That's the concept. Basically, they'll find the best suitable, best scenario for connecting to those systems. So I have some system. I'm not able to, if I can connect that directly to BW, yes. If I'm not able to, then these all comes into picture. Yeah. In fact, it has to show me all tables of HANA database by reading through what? From BODS, it has to log into HANA. From HANA, it has to take all the tables and show me all this. Then I should, that's where it's going for dump, but దీంట్లో అంటే ఇక్కడ మనకి ఎక్కడ ఫిల్టర్ ఇవ్వడానికి లేదన్న, అన్నీ చూడాల్సింది. దర్ ఇస్ నో ఆప్షన్ ఆఫ్ గివింగ్ ఫిల్టర్. దేర్ వుడ్ బి, బట్ so in fact it does not show all the tables. It will only show the tables what we have imported into. By using this cubex ds HANA, did I import some tables from HANA, replicated? Only one table. Our tables going to be shown. Whichever you replicate, that will be shown here.
It's going to show only one table. Why is it taking so long?
It's stuck. It's not allowing me to do anything. All tab లేదు ఏం లేదు. చెప్ప BODS చేయలేదు.
సార్ కనెక్షన్ అయిపోయిన రికార్డ్స్ వస్తాయి సార్ BW ఇక్కడ నుంచి. మళ్ళీ కొత్తగా ఎంటర్ అయిపోతే డైరెక్ట్గా BW రికార్డ్స్ వచ్చేస్తాయి. అనాలి ఇప్పుడు డేటాబేస్ టేబుల్స్లో రికార్డ్స్ ఎంటర్ చేస్తాయి. డేటా ఇప్పుడు 4 రికార్డ్స్ ఉన్నాయి. ఆల్రెడీ డేటా వచ్చేస్తాయి, రికార్డ్స్ అన్నీ వచ్చేసాయి BWకి. మళ్ళీ అడిషనల్గా 2 రికార్డ్స్ యాడ్ చేస్తే ఎటువంటి చేంజెస్ లేకుండా అంటే మళ్ళీ రెప్లికేట్ చేసే అవసరం డైరెక్ట్గా వస్తుంది BW.
మళ్ళీ ఇన్ఫోబేస్ రన్ చేయాలన్నా. నార్మల్ లోడింగ్ ఎట్లా చేస్తాం ప్రతిసారి ఇన్ఫోబేస్ కొడుతుండాలి. ఇప్పుడు క్వశ్చన్ ఏమంటే ఇన్ఫోబేస్ కొడితే మళ్ళీ 6 రికార్డ్స్ వస్తాయి 4 వస్తాయి అనేది పాయింట్. యాక్చువల్ BODSలో కూడా యూ కెన్ హ్యాండిల్ డేట్ వైజ్ ఏదైనా ఉంటే అటు ఫిల్టర్ పెట్టుకోవచ్చు, లేదా నువ్వు ఇన్ఫోబేస్లో ఫిల్టర్ డేటా సెలెక్షన్ పెట్టవచ్చు. అట్లా there is no direct delta mechanism. It is full, but you work with pseudo delta by having some data selections on the date wise or timestamp wise. I just have to show one more open up as అదొకటి చూపించు. అది లాగిన్ కాదు. బట్ ఇట్ అండర్స్టాండ్ దిస్ పాయింట్. ఇది రాకుండా అర్థమైంది కదా పాయింట్. నీకు ఆ టేబుల్స్ కనిపిస్తాయి. యూ షుడ్ సెలెక్ట్ ద టేబుల్ and then if you say propose based on the fields of the table, system will propose the transfer structure also. Afternoon, I'm going to stop. Is that okay? Happy good okay. Stuck. అది ఎర్రర్ వచ్చారు వెయిట్ చేయాల్సింది. సో ఇంకోటి ఏమంటే వెన్ యూ గో విత్ వెన్ యూ ఇన్ ద BODS యూ క్రియేటెడ్ BW యాజ్ అ టార్గెట్ కనెక్షన్ వేర్ ఇట్ ఈస్ షోయింగ్ యూ డేటా సోర్సెస్ విచ్ కెన్ బి లెవరేజ్డ్. బట్ ఇఫ్ యూ క్రియేటెడ్ డేటా స్టోర్ విచ్ సేస్ BW as source, and server details is all same, but you are referring BW as source, then when you expand that data store you will see open up. So you create in BW create a open up with third party tool. You go to BODS, you will say import, in other words replicate that open up definition, that will be source, and push it to HANA will be target. అట్లా ఉండొచ్చు. అర్థమైందన్న. BWలో you will create a open up with the destinations third party tool. చేసి ఆ open up will act as source in when you create a data store with BW as target, it will show open up as my source. you'll use open up a source and HANA table as target and then start mapping and trigger the job in BODS. You can either trigger the job in BODS or even in BW processing, do we have a trigger job in BODS? In process, did we have a process? I'll save this better.